everybody, and welcome to Ladies of the PGS. I am your host, and of course, we have with us Reina Creole. Reina, how are you tonight?
I am doing great, doing wonderful, and so glad to be here with you and with all of you out there watching.
It is wonderful, Lorena. This is the last few weeks of summer, at least for those of us on the East Coast, let's say. Actually, maybe in the Northeast, it's the last few weeks of summer, but
Hmm.
it's been such a nice, very comfortable, pretty much July and August. I haven't really been uncomfortable. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll take more of this weather if I can get it. But how's the weather near you, Lorena?
It is smoking hot. It is still hot. Basically, it's summer in Florida. Summer in Florida, summer in the South. It's that hot, sticky weather that we mutter about and just deal with because, once November comes around, we're just like, this is absolute wonderful, wonderful, great weather. It's stinking hot outside, but at Michael's, it's fall.
Yes. Yes, a Halloween is there, and even in some
Hmm.
cases, they got those trees, those Christmas trees up, which even surprises me a little bit, but it's okay. But yes, it is fall. They got the fall wreaths out. They have the school supplies. Some people,
Hmm.
I guess, maybe started school in some places, or start very very soon if they're not
Hmm.
in class. So yes, the summer is winding down. Darn, I hate saying that. But Lorena, what an interesting summer this has been. And certainly with this unusual strike that has been
Hmm.
in, I guess, just dominating everything. From one moment it felt as if just one portion or one union was on strike, and then there was solidarity where
Hmm.
other unions joined in. And then now, where it feels like they should be negotiating, or maybe they are negotiating, different things are coming up. And it is very difficult right now to even think about box offices and, how movies are doing. But this has been a very interesting year for movies. I mean, we had two films now so far this year, um, maybe more than two, that have reached $1 billion. And of course, the Super Mario Brothers movie, which you and I both loved,
Hmm.
it was long overdue. We'd never gotten a film that was like that one before. And this one really hit it out of the park, I think, for everybody. Certainly made me go ahead and buy a game that I haven't played in ages. And you and I were talking about how sometimes when a movie hits that mark, when it actually goes there and makes you want to buy stuff, and it
Hmm.
is very interesting because that's what would normally happen growing up. We used to see movies that would happen all the time. You see the movie, you'd say, oh great, I can't wait to get that thing from the film, and I got to read
Hmm.
that. But Super Mario honestly was never unpopular. People, I've been playing it since like the 90s, so on my
Yeah.
Nintendo 64, when it was pixelated. And it's come a long way, and they certainly have expanded the game and made it fun for people and made co-op play so you can play with your friends. There's a lot of things they
Hmm.
thought about in regards to survival of the brand. And so when the movie came out, I wasn't surprised that it was fantastic. And it was really interesting when you and I were talking about the film and certain
Hmm.
elements that we knew we had to see in the film. For example, we
Right.
absolutely knew that we had to see the game sort of play out in a linear fashion, right? We knew
Yeah,
if we didn't see
absolutely.
that in the movie, we would be very like upset if that wasn't in there. And of course, sure enough, it was in there. And then we got to see, Super Mario and Princess Peach kind of like practicing. And I said, this is the coolest, cutest thing ever. Really was a phenomenal film. And of course, we know we're going to get more Super Mario films. This is
Oh,
not,
yeah, absolutely.
it's not going away.
Absolutely.
It's an IP that's been around for over 30 years or so. It's been just wonderful enjoying that one. And I guess maybe the other film, it's probably from last year, would be Avatar: The Weight of Water. And you and I watched that together. We watched it
Yes.
together. We did a watch party. That was also fun. A little different, like when it comes to collectibles, I'm sure that there are 1/6 scale figures and things. And, you know,
Mhm.
one very interesting thing about both of those franchises is that, of course, there's Super Mario World, and
Right.
now you can even enjoy that even more. And then, of course, you've seen the Avatar attractions at the parks, and
Yes.
you saw it before you saw the movie, and you even
Mhm.
said, gosh, that looks exactly like what it looks in the movie, which does show a testament to them keeping it, the same. And it's very interesting that the things that have been successful have been doing that. We've been seeing that sort of being consistent. And I can't wait to go to the parks to look at that Avatar thing, because I've never seen it. And after seeing the movie, I really want to see that. So I think it is really interesting, and it's just been enjoyable. So, Avatar kind of carried over into this year, and then Super
Mhm.
Mario was the other one that really hit $1 billion. And of course, I have to mention that Barbie has made $1 billion. And of course, what's interesting, Lorena? Even when it hit 800 million, I was like, is it going to get there? Is it going to get there? And people were like, yeah, it probably is. And I'm like, well, how do you know? And of course it did. But I do think it's kind of interesting. I just was surprised because it was 17 days. And I thought to myself,
Mm.
no, it probably needs like another week or two to get to the point, of making it. But certainly this is a fantastic news, I honestly believe. And this discussion tonight, of course, Barbie has made $1 billion. This is great. But it's also like the box office future, because that wasn't the only successful film this summer, Lorena. We're seeing films like Oppenheimer, which has taken, the box office by storm. It's a 3-hour film.
Mhm.
And the film has sold out IMAX theaters for weeks. Something, that's very unusual. Catherine Cook, who comes on the channel sometimes, talked about how in her neighborhood, it completely sold out in the entire theater the first weekend, something she's never even seen before. I think it's interesting that we are seeing, it feels like the box office is coming back. Lorena, is the box office coming back?
I believe that it is starting to come back. Had a couple of false starts, but I noticed that there are more films out there now because, of course, when the Wu-Tang flu popped off, there wasn't anything in production. Now that's finally catching up, where there's films in the theaters, pretty much something for everyone's kind of taste, and it's starting to actually feel normal again, of going to the theater, and you don't have to do the social distancing, and the films that we want to see, or love to throw shade on, or whatever, they're all out there. So it's like, whether you like it or don't like it, there is so much, to watch. Last summer, it didn't seem that there was that much. This summer, it's just like can't keep up. I mean, of course, we talked about Super Mario Brothers that came out, and I'm gonna bet right now Zelda is gonna be the next film to come out. Putting
Yes.
my money on it. Zelda is gonna be the next one. Of course, you had Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning. That part one came out. You had a film that literally came out of nowhere and is making more money. I think it's made more money than Dead Reckoning. It's made more money than the Indiana Jones movie. That would be The Sound of Freedom, which I still have to watch. That have to go and check out. That just came out of nowhere, and people are just going to the theaters and buying tickets, paying it forward for people to go and see this film. You had films like, I want to say, like Megan, that came out,
Yes.
this year. That was fun. You've got Insidious, The Red Door, which I still have to see, which came out. You had that come out. You had the Barbie movie that came out. That's doing close to $1 billion. Not a surprise. I got my issues with that film, but overall, you cannot deny the marketing for that was genius. Got butts in the seats, not only butts in the seats, but cosplayed and in seats to see the Barbie movie. Oppenheimer, huge epic type of film that, just brought people in. If you were not a science or engineering nerd, the intrigue is what kept you there. Let's see, who was the other one that
Meg 2 that you just saw the other day.
Yes, I saw Meg 2. That was just absolute stupid fun. It was just exactly what was advertised. Jason Statham doing crazy ass things with huge sharks, more than sharks this time around, and other, I say sharks and their friends because they had some other, some other friends with it. It was just fun. It was the type of movie that you could just go to, sit there with popcorn. You're not expecting very much from it, but just to be freaking entertained. And that's exactly what it did. Entertained. You had positive male role models that were, that were in it. That's another bonus to that film, and it's making more money overseas than it is here. And the Meg, I just literally, I just laughed. I mean, the line in the trailer, which sums it up perfectly, where they're rowing on the raft, and it's just like, let's just hope this doesn't turn out like last time. The uncle's like, what happened last time? And I forget the chick's name, but she said, you don't want to know. But if you've seen the first one, you're just like, yeah. But if you haven't, you're like, what happened last time? So you had the Meg too. You had, you had that coming out. Ninja Turtles is coming out. I'm probably going to see on $5 night. You even have coming up The Nun 2, which the
Yes.
trailer scared the crap out of me and everybody in the theater. So you have that coming up. We've got Expendables 4 coming up September 22nd. It really does feel as if things are back to normal. There's more things to see, and people are excited about going to the theaters to see the types of films that they want to see, whether they want to see a strange comedy for a throwback toy like Barbie, if they want to see an epic like Oppenheimer, or they just want to see you know what, I just want to watch sharks eating people. That's the kind of movie The Expendables is. Or, I want to see psychological horror that makes you jump. Or, I just want to see old action heroes back together for the fourth time and see what happens.
Yeah, and it does seem, and obviously the box office receipts reflect this, that people are going into the theater, butts are in seats. I was gonna say asses are in seats. It sounds kind of hardcore, right? Asses are in seats, but people are going into the theater, like what you said. Like, I got dressed up, as you know, for, like, I've gone to see the Barbie film a few times. I've seen Oppenheimer 2 times already. I'm seeing movies over and over again, like what we used to like. This was not something that was unusual in the past. We used to go and see films that we liked a lot. I know for John Wick, which came out a little bit earlier this year.
Oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot about John Wick. Shame on me.
Catherine Cook said that she went to see the film 4 times in the theater.
I believe it.
This is what's happening. I think people want to have this experience back, and it wasn't you or I, but we had seen, videos where people are saying, well, theaters are gone forever, or, like, this is kind of, it's over. And it doesn't feel over. It feels as if things are coming back, as you said, to normal. And it seems like there's a lot of films making cash. So let's look at this article. Of course, it's the article. These ads are killing me. If I can just close this ad up and I can get back to here. The advertisements are just the worst. But what I was going to say is just looking at the article, and I kind of think it's really interesting, because if somebody had said, a lot of times we'll hear about like one film taking something away from another film, or like we've heard that, and it totally makes sense. This is, I'm not saying there's any right or wrong to it, but we're not seeing that now. What we're seeing is an incredible amount of money and cash going into the box office across the board. And it says here in this article, Barbie's doing incredibly well. Meg 2's doing well. Teenage Ninja Turtles is doing well, and it's adding to this movie going boom. It is like a boom. Of course, it doesn't mention Dead Reckoning, which is still making money. It doesn't mention it, in the headline, it doesn't mention Oppenheimer, still making money. I would even go so far that if John Wick were still in the theater, that people would buy tickets to see that film. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's really interesting. And I kind of like this notion of how, here it says, Oppenheimer is now the biggest. I didn't know this. Something? I'm just reading this now. Oppenheimer is the biggest World War II pick of all time at
Wow.
552 million, Lorena, for a 3-hour film. 552.9 million worldwide, while Meg 2, The Trench, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles open ahead of expectations. Not a surprise there. Not a surprise that they did well. I mean, this feels like the movie theaters of old in the summer when you would go ahead and there would be all these wonderful available movies to see, and you'd go and you'd be like, what am I going to go see? Well, I already saw that one. Did you see that? Oh, you didn't see it? Let's go see it.
To back up, not to interrupt, but to back up a little bit, when you're talking about World War II films,
Yes.
It looks like Oppenheimer made more money than Saving Private Ryan.
Wow.
Is that the case? That's something to check out, because if you're talking about the biggest like World War II films, I'm thinking, Saving Private Ryan. I'm trying to remember what the heck that darn Bruckheimer film was. I didn't see it, but it was. I can't. I think Kate Beckinsale was in it.
Oh, you're talking about Pearl Harbor.
Yes, Pearl Harbor, but Saving Private Ryan was huge. So it'd be interesting to see if truly Oppenheimer has claimed that distinction.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going by the headline here. I don't know.
I was just curious. I'm like, I had to think about that for a minute.
Well, it is something to think about, Lorena, because you were talking about that was 20 years ago, even.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing, I think I'm not going to say we haven't always had an incredible interest and desire for to make historical films about World War II or let's say films that deal with World War II. I'm certainly not saying that, but it certainly is quite noticeable the impact that this film has had.
Absolutely.
And it's gone from, and it is true that let's say even just looking at the circumstance of the film. So Barbie is only 2 hours long. So you can show that on any screen. This is, if they didn't I don't believe they made it in 3D. I don't believe. Oh, thank you, Rogue. Thank you, Rogue Comics.
Thank you.
And thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson as well, who said 481 worldwide. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. We so appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
What I think is really interesting, Lorena, and you and I have actually spoken about this before, is the notion of the influence that the film has beyond, let's say, when you go and buy a ticket. I've seen people buying the book that the movie was, let's say, the film screenplay was adapted from now for Oppenheimer. I've seen people buy additional materials and want to learn more about what happened. That there's questions as to why it was done this way. So they said, why wasn't this represented? And now there's a discussion about that. And I think it's really interesting when a film is going to that. Of course, it is about a monumental event that happened, but Lorena, it doesn't have to necessarily discuss anything that people want to talk about. And it has inspired people to do that. It's inspired people to go to a 70 millimeter IMAX film, Lorena. It's inspired people to do that. It's inspired people to buy tickets for weeks in advance, knowing it's going to be on 70 millimeter. Like that. When was the last time we even had something as exciting as that, where it's going to be on special screens and, they're like, oh, this is where you can see it. And it's sold out for a certain amount of time. You're not seeing that movie for 2 weeks, but you're excited about it. Like I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say the one that comes to mind really is Top Gun Maverick.
And, that's a good point. And, looking at this, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, as you and I are both saying, that film was made quite some time ago. And certainly I'm happy to see, not only has it made, let's say, Rogue Comics does say it's not adjusted for inflation. It is true. But I'm happy to see a global response of people wanting to see the film, of people having a sellout, knowing it's sold out till, 2 or 3 weeks in advance. I really love this idea. I think it's exciting. I think it shows interest in cinema. Cinema is not a dead art. This is something that people have been talking about, like, is it over? Are people even going to want to go to theaters after all this? And clearly they do want to go. We're seeing this. And Lorena, what makes this even more interesting, and you had mentioned it, you mentioned the sound of freedom, Lorena. what makes this even more interesting is that for even when people don't have money to go to the theater, this movie on its own decided to put like some kind of QR code that says, hey, if you don't have enough money to see this, pay it forward, put in $5, someone can go see it for. And I thought that was really interesting, not just for self-preservation, but for the notion of, my friend, I feel like I could go ahead and buy a ticket for someone else if I had to, because I want to support it. And I'm wondering, I'm not saying it's appropriate for every film. It certainly may not be appropriate for every film, but I never thought I would see that and that I would be doing it. Like I scanned the QR code and I bought it. But I never thought that I personally would be doing that and that it would have an impact. Of course it had an impact. The film was made for 14 million and made over 100 million. I think it's like maybe up to 150. But I just think it's really interesting that the models of how money was made, a lot of what the focus on, and I think, for a while was these streaming services. And maybe we really do need to have a focus on the cinemas the way we used to. It does feel a little different, but certainly we are seeing a lot of attention to this if people are going and looking specifically for screens like 70 millimeter IMAX. That's incredibly specific. That is, I have to go to this theater located something miles away because they have a 70 millimeter IMAX. I don't remember the last time I've even done that. And yet I was looking to book it with Mikey Lito, who we promised each other that we were going to go see Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter. Once we can get a ticket, because it's completely sold out and we're waiting for them to extend dates, which I imagine they will. I think once it goes into streaming, and Lorena, I have a feeling you agree with me that it's still going to be available to see in 70 millimeter IMAX somewhere. People are still going to buy tickets for it. It's a huge event. We have all these Anglophiles here in the PGS in our community, let's say in this pop culture community, who love seeing movies in 70 millimeter, who love their 4K editions of movies. They're very specific in what they want to see movies presented as. Why not have a movie that was specifically filmed in IMAX and in, something that is so special as 70 millimeter? I just love it. I think that this is a very special time. And I think we talked about, what's the future of the box office? What is happening? And I think people do want to see these special events and go to them. It's really so much fun to see this, Lorena. And I'm so glad that we're kind of able to kind of witness this, because it does feel like one of those summer blockbuster summers, all these different movies you can choose from. Hey, what are we going to see over the next few weeks? I don't know. Let's plan it out. Or, it's been so much fun. And this is the way I see movie going to be. This is like I think a fantastic example. It may not be the best case scenario for everybody, but this is what we were hoping for. This is what we were, rooting for and supporting, and hoping that we would see movies that would be able to do this, I think, for people all over. And it's a worldwide response. So we're seeing these films are doing well internationally as well, for at least in the countries they're not banned, let's say. Yeah. But for those, countries where they are be able to be shown, we're seeing incredible responses. For example, I think it was in the United Kingdom, the Ken song went to #1.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Like, who would have guessed this? There are so many little things about it that I wouldn't have been able to predict. Here, of course, they're talking about the domestic box office and the global number. And one other thing I kind of also want to talk about here's Mario. And like I said, if Mario was still in movies, which I think it is, Lorena, I think you can go see the Super Mario movies in the theater. And I'm pretty sure that there are families who are going to see it. Yet I believe I looked on my Regal app and I did see you can go see the Super. Yeah, I'm so sorry. For 1.3 billion, that's a huge amount. As we know, I have a feeling it's going to make even more.
Oh, yeah. It's going to make tons.
Here it says that they're calling it the Barbenheimer Parade resulted in another huge movie-going weekend, even as the dual strikes threaten the gains. Theatrical is making combined domestic revenue about 180 million, up a staggering 90% from the same frame last year and even 19% over 2019. And of course, Greta's accomplishments here. She's done incredibly well. All these different things that have been broken in regards to this. And it says, not
Mhm.
often are veteran studio executives rendered speechless, but that's how movie distribution chiefs Jeff Goldstein and Andrew Cripps described themselves on Sunday. Barbillion has blown out our most optimistic predictions out of the water. But even the Oppenheimer, I think, might have blown some people out of the water, because it's still like Oppenheimer is still riding up the hill, so to speak, at least the way I'm looking at it, and for what I'm
Mhm.
seeing, the way it's going. So it's not just Barbie, and it's certainly this wave of entertainment that people are enjoying. And I'm going to say that, in all honesty, because Oppenheimer is also making an incredible amount of money for a 3-hour film. Now here they talk about this. Meg 2, The Trench, opened in second place with an estimated 30 million, which
Mhm.
is just a little bit down from what it opened before, but that's pretty high. It's better than a lot of films have been doing for what it is. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kinda like to add to it, granted, the theater that I was in, and I saw it on preview night, so that Thursday night. So the theater was about half full. It was really late. It was like 9, I think like a 9:15 showing, but people were laughing, and you heard just how people reacted, to the film. So that was fun. Even, the Haunted Mansion, which, its production costs were, like, way too expensive. But that said, people were sitting there enjoying the film, especially those of us who love the Haunted Mansion attraction. We're pointing out like all the Easter eggs and laughing at, all those callbacks and everything. People just liked being there, enjoying the experience, especially with these fan preview
Yeah.
events to go to, with diehards there and everyone just, just enjoying what it is. So yeah, I am not surprised that the Meg 2, the money that it made in the US, and that it's making much more money over overseas. Because let's just say there's a kaiju element in that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh my
That's all I'm going to say. So, yes, it is. It is literally. I am so not kidding. This movie Meg 2 is like a combination of Jaws. There's a Jaws reference in it, between Jaws, Deep Blue Sea. That's another one, and Lake Placid.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And we need to see films like this. This was something in a discussion that you and I have had before, also. And guys, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but we need to have films like this that remind us how much we enjoy this stuff. I mean, certainly the Trench here, it says it's done very well. It says it's off to an impressive 112 million, Lorena, 112 million dollars,
Mhm.
26 million
Yes.
from China. That is huge.
Yes.
This is absolutely it's going to do even better, I have a feeling. And this is going to be one of those films where people are going to keep going and seeing again. And if I'm going to go see, I was like, even if I had seen it once and a group of my
Mhm.
friends are going to see, I'm like, oh hell yeah, let me get some popcorn, let me get some drinks
Oh.
and candy, and let's go on in. And I think that the theater going culture of just having that fun time. Jason Statham is a fan favorite. I love him. I can't wait to
Oh,
see
yeah.
him. Lorena has reviewed Meg 2 on her channel.
Yes.
So please
Mhm.
go to Lorena Creole's channel and watch the review. You're going to find out everything you need to know about how great the film is. Because Lorena, I think you did it right after you came out of the box office, right?
Yes, so I did a short, and then I did a video review of it. Part of it is non-spoiler, the first, and then the rest of it is a spoiler review, so you can get an idea of just how much you want to know about the Meg 2. But I have to say, it is so much fun. And again, to reiterate, one of the things about Meg 2, and probably one of the reasons why it's doing so well overseas, especially China. One, there is a link to China, where there was in the first one anyway,
Uh-huh.
and that there's positive male role models. that are, that are in it. I'll just put it that way. You'll see a side to Jason Statham that you wouldn't really expect, but it's cool to see at the same time everybody working together, as a group.
Wow.
And yeah, and just great cheesy freaking fun, and sharks eating people, and Jason Statham on a jet ski, with three with three with three dinosaur sharks coming after him. It
Oh,
is just perfect.
I love it. And it certainly is, I think, so important for us to see a film like that, when done right, can give a fantastic result. We do need to see films like this. I think that there is a certain sense and desire to see this. And I think that's fine. Sometimes we need films like this. And certainly, here the box office is proving that to be true. People are making it, a point to go see Meg 2 as well. Lorena, as you said, guys, make sure you check out her review on her channel as well. And here it does go on. See, and I guess I should have known it was going to mention Private Ryan and Dunkirk
Okay.
eventually, but it says Universal's Oppenheimer, like Barbie, remained a force of nature in its third. What's kind of interesting too is that it's getting people into the theater. Let's say you go to see Barbie, you go to see Oppenheimer, you go to see Top Gun Maverick. You're in the theater, so now you're seeing what else is there, and it could be a group of people who may not have been doing this or couldn't go to the theater. All different scenarios, and now they're seeing what's out there. Like, yeah, maybe I'll catch another flick while I'm here. I think you and I talked about the Barbenheimer phenomenon, and I still was
Mhm.
not too jazzed about how they were connected through memes, and it's okay. Like, this is, I'm not freaked out by it, but I personally wouldn't have put them together. They came out on the same day, but we couldn't deny that the marketing worked very well. And certainly, once a person gets into that theater, they're gonna see those posters. They're gonna see all those things going on, and different people who are going to see different films. Oh, I didn't know that was coming out now. You're going to walk through,
Mhm.
you're going to see all those previews as well. So I think it is very interesting that it is kind of this force of nature. It's like this force of nature saying that entertainment business isn't going anywhere, even despite what's going on. And of course, here they talk about overseas it earned quite a bit too,
Mhm.
here for an offshore haul. I hope I'm reading this right. 552 million for an offshore haul of 552 million. That's a
Mhm.
lot of money. That's a huge amount of money for a film that is 3 hours long, everybody.
Oh, yeah, because it's with it being 3 hours, the way that you sell a film like that is it has to be an interesting spectacle, something that keeps you there, whether it's the dialogue, whether it's the cinematography. There's just something about that to keep butts in seats for 3 hours, so that's a serious feat on Nolan's part, so I definitely have to give him kudos to doing that, 'cause it looks gorgeous. It will again be one of those where people have probably as soon as they got out of the theater, went to Amazon and found out when the 4K steelbook is coming out.
Absolutely, Lorena. I wouldn't be surprised by that. I even went so far as to look up information about how and when Oppenheimer was depicted in comics, because he was the inspiration, I guess, for Doctor Manhattan in The Watchmen, and
Oh.
yeah, and he has. I guess I could pull up the art. Well, I'll pull it up next time. But what I was going to say is, because I also still want to talk about this Tubi Black Noir regarding black exploitation films. Before we end today. But I think next time I will bring that up, because I don't know what else is going on. And thank you, Rogue Comics. Thank you so much, Tom Jr. Jackson. You guys are throwing out.
Mm.
Thank you. Flash didn't even make
Mm.
270 million worldwide. God bless you for making that the name of your YouTube channel. And so that's okay. It's okay that your OCD kicked in. We are talking about numbers, and we're also talking about interest, Rogue Comics. We're talking about overall general interest in going back to the movies again, and the box office future,
Mhm.
and what next year is going to look like, what the Christmas season is going to look like. Lorena, when Dead Reckoning came out a little bit earlier this summer,
Mhm.
I didn't know how it was going to perform, but even that is doing well. Although it's not highlighted in the article, it's still making bank, Lorena. You know, this is very interesting. What we're
Mhm.
seeing, this force of nature. It's the force of entertainment that's coming back the way that we all knew it and love it. Um, Here it says the directed pick about making the atomic bomb finished Sunday, and the top gross ever for a World War II pick ahead of Dunkirk. I hadn't thought of Dunkirk. Did you? You mentioned Dunkirk, didn't you? That was the other one, right? You were talking about Lorraine.
I was going to, and I stopped short because I remembered that was Nolan's one of Nolan's films, and I wasn't quite sure because I don't give me too much grief. I haven't seen Dunkirk, although the trailers were astounding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It really was.
Yeah, and this is certainly something to think about. It says it's also his biggest non-superhero pick in a slew of markets, and as many of us are saying, it hasn't even finished. But wait, there's more to this article. This is actually a very good article. It's really hitting the nail on the head of what I wanted to get to. Now, I've seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and I liked it. About the only thing that I would say I didn't care for was maybe the animation style, but that doesn't matter. It was still a good film as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
So it certainly was wonderful. It says, look at this. It came ahead of expectations, similar to Meg 2, with a 5-day debut of $43 million, including $28 million for the 3-day weekend. That's a huge amount for an animated movie. I mean,
Mhm.
the movie's performance further cements Paramount's standout success in the PG space, and depending upon where it tops, should successfully reboot the big screen franchise. Many of you in the chat are talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As I said, I saw it. I loved it. I thought it was great. Lorena, it felt like you were hanging out with the turtles. It felt like you were hanging there, like, hey,
Mm.
bro, hey, what's up? Yo, man, hey. And it was like, cowabunga, dude. This was it to me. It did feel that way. Now, I'm not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle expert, nor am I a collector. There are many of you in the chat, maybe even you, Lorena, who are bigger fans than it. But I loved it. I thought it was great for this reboot of a
Mm.
series that should have never even gone away, as far as I'm concerned. But it says it's a PG rated pick, written by Seth Rogen. Can't read this. And appealing heavily to boys, is one of the best reviewed studio films of the year. Earned a stellar cinema score from audiences. Mutant Mayhem opened midweek in order to get a jump
Mhm.
on the competition. And it says it has little competition in sight. Mutant Mayhem and Meg 2 are the first films to feel the full weight of not having stars or influencers able to promote the film. Let's talk about that just for a brief
Hmm.
minute, Lorena. And we're talking about box office future as we now know it. Promotions are not happening, and yet Meg 2 and Mutant Mayhem are doing incredibly well without, what we would normally see in the promotion side. Um,
Mhm.
why did they do so well?
Well, I think both of them, at least going from the trailers, lean into the nostalgia of the first film. The original Ninja Turtles movie is always going to be my favorite. When I saw the trailer for the new one, honestly, the animation style really did not grab me. That kind of set me off a little bit, like, I don't know if I really want to see it. And then usually anything that's a remake, I'm automatically skeptical of it. So I can't wait to go on $5 night again. So I do this $5 night to see it, to see exactly what's going to happen. But Ninja Turtles has a big fan base. People are thinking of the Ninja Turtle movies that they saw in the 90s and were excited to see it. Between the video games, man, that classic arcade cab Ninja Turtles video game. I played that so much with my sister. And because the ones where you could play either by yourself or all the three other people get in and you play. That was an absolute classic game. I believe a new video game came out for Ninja Turtles. So it really didn't have to have stars promoting that. Granted, I got my issues with Seth Rogen, but aside from that, you have now social media out there, which does not depend on the
Hmm.
stars going to premieres and people covering it. You've got ads on TikTok, you've got ads on YouTube, you've got ads on Fire TV, you've got ads on your phone, even when you're browsing through web pages, you're depending on, whatever Google is listening to, you will get pop-ups about, about the particular film. I've even seen in some of my videos, depending on the content, you'll see like my Meg video, advertisement for the Meg movie came out. So that's kind of what's going on with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Same thing in a way for Meg too. When you saw the trailer, if you've seen the first movie, again, that joke that I told you about, I hope this doesn't happen like last time. Immediate callback to, oh shoot, this is probably going to be even more messed up, and I can't wait to see it. Plus, the first Meg movie is on streaming, so people can go and see that before, well, or stream it before they go to see Meg 2. But again, word of mouth. Jason Statham, we've already seen him in Fast X, which was, it was what it was. I'm not, Jason Momoa was in it, so I was quite happy with that. Uh, but you already saw him in that, and you didn't see him in that film for very long. But he's the star in Meg 2. So I really do believe, influencers aside, because I kind of take them out of the equation, it's the new media marketing that's bringing butts and seats, to the theaters. It's not the old model of, you cut a trailer and you see the trailer in the theater, you see it on television, broadcast television, and that was it. No, now when they're doing media promotions, you've got it. What's your social media strategy? Where you going for the TikTokers, or you're going, on YouTube, or you putting ads, out on Instagram? How are you going to do that? So that's another marketing vector to tap into. And a long-winded answer, but yes, that I believe that is the difference, or the differences as to why they're doing so good without the traditional marketing engine.
Yeah, that I'm so glad you brought that up. You made so many good points there, and that is something to consider now going forward. The influence that social media has, and thank you for saying that. I thought it was perfect length, Lorena. It wasn't.
Oh, thank you.
And certainly, here it goes on to talk about The Sound of Freedom, which has made an astounding $164 million. Wow, that's unbelievable. Good for them, as well as and here it goes a little bit farther down. It does say Haunted Mansion is even making money. Like, it's making money.
It's making money. Although I will say the issue with Haunted Mansion is the same issue that's happened with Dial of Destiny, with the new Indiana Jones film. Disney is making their movies that are too darn expensive, and it's very hard to recoup the investment on that. So, plus with Haunted Mansion, it's kind of like, I can go back and watch the Eddie Murphy version.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the trailer is good, but you look at it and it's just kind of like, I think I'll wait for it to come on Disney Plus, because it's coming. So I think that's the major part of it, which is a shame, because I really did like the film. It's a very very entertaining film. Just too expensive with production costs. So unfortunately, I think it's going to make its money back later. It's going to take much longer, but it will.
I'm also glad that you brought that up, and it's something I think that will have to be considered going forward. And before I get to Tubi and what they're doing with blaxploitation films, more or less, just talking about Insidious Red Door, which you mentioned, Lorena, certainly also turning a profit, Lorena. This is with Megan. You and I did a watch party of that one. Which had made 180 million. Red Door making 182 million at the global box office. That's not bad at all, Lorena.
No, and Insidious. I've seen all of the Insidious films. They're all good. It's like horror crack watching those films. And Blumhouse does a very good job of controlling their costs. The the movies always seem to be profitable right after the first weekend. It taps into those like classic horror vibes that you would get with respect to most of their films, and people are just hooked because of the series. We want to see how the Insidious series or anthology. We want
Mhm.
how the Insidious anthology wraps up, because the red door, you've seen the red door in the previous film. So again, something where people are like, I have to see how it ends. I have to see, what happens with that. And with Megan, it was just like a different version of Child's Play.
Yes, it was. And certainly, if done correct, we will watch it. Um,
Yes,
that's
absolutely. That's the key.
that's all the studios need to know, is that if it's done correctly, we will show up, we will watch it, we will enjoy it. As I said, you and I did a fun watch party of Megan. I didn't know what it was going to be like. We enjoyed that thing so much.
Oh
Um,
God, yeah, it was great. It was great. Even with me making comments like I would not have programmed it that way.
Well, the final, certainly, the box office future is so bright. We got to wear shades, guys. That's what I'm going to say. Be hopeful. I think things are coming back. I think it's this box office renaissance, where, as I said, butts are in seats and people are seeing more than one movie at a time, which we always used to do anyway, right?
Yeah.
So just enjoy it, guys, and everybody in the chat. And I did want to bring this last um, point up, Lorena, has to do with Tubi. Tubi
Hmm.
has this black noir cinema, and Pam Grier sees a through line to her black exploitation era, and it says the screen legend stars in streaming services' recent project Cinnamon, while her one-time co-star Antonio Fargas stars in Murder City, both produced under a partnership with Village Roadshow, a spotlight black-led films. It's grounded in something universal. Fairly recently, Turner Classic Movies featured Pam Grier talking about how she says, "I think we started a movement," and how at the time when these films were made, Lorena, Hollywood was trying to figure out how they could make these films, which looked really good, for what it was, for so
Hmm.
inexpensive. And she talked about, well, we didn't have any sets, and we didn't have any costumes. Those were all my own clothes, and
Hmm.
we didn't have any props. And like, that was someone's house. They allowed us to go ahead and make the film there, and it truly was an incredibly innovative undertaking. And I like that Tubi is deciding to kind of focus on these films. Here it says, she as she waxes over her groundbreaking career, touching on everything from Foxy Brown to Coffee to Quentin Tarantino's 1997 love letter to Greer and the genre she built, Jackie Brown, she takes a moment to take stock of what it all represents. And I think it is so interesting. She does have a conversation here with the Hollywood Reporter about the
Hmm.
gilded, the gilded icon of blaxploitation films. And from age 19 to me today, I'm in such gratitude and honor of all the people who taught me so much. The other day, I was streaming, and someone had asked me what are my guilty pleasures, and of course I said blaxploitation and sexploitation films. Um,
Hmm.
but I think it's great, this focus that Tubi's putting on this. Here it says, while a library could be built around what's written, the recent Netflix documentary, Is That Black Enough for You, chronicles how the genre made her one of the biggest grossing film stars in the 70s. And, I think it's so important. Tubi deciding that her and her co-star Antonio Fargas getting this resurgence of original films produced under Village Roadshow Pictures. They're saying it's a new noir, a black noir cinema slate in association with Fox Entertainment Studios. And, they talk about their different projects and stuff. What do you think about this, Lorena? I mean, I kind of like that Tubi has decided to take this on. They know we love these films, right?
Yeah, they do. These films are, I call them time in a bottle. And it goes back to like either the movies that you'd watch kind of like on a weekend because you didn't have cable and it just came on, or it was the kind of films where your parents would always talk about how much they loved it and when they would go to see it and when it was on television and everybody would come up to the house, or if it came on cable, everyone to sit down and just watch it. It was truly an art form. I want to say there's like, if you think of blaxploitation as like an art form by the same thing as the kung fu movies, like from Bruce Lee and others in that time period, it's time in a bottle. It's a exploration of culture at this, at the same time, and done with really, really great writing, social commentary, and we just love these types of things. There is always going to be an audience for this. I'll even go a little step further. Netflix has a film out called They Cloned Tyrone, and that
Yes.
is like blaxploitation slash sci-fi. They literally like ripped what you saw in Jackie Brown and updated it, put a sci-fi twist on it, but you can see the roots go all the way back to the blaxploitation films of the 70s. And an even bigger kudos I want to give to them is putting it on Tubi, because Tubi is free. Okay, with ads, but yeah, Tubi is free. Tubi is
Yes.
free. Yeah.
And they said, and I'm gonna bring up They Clone Tyrone in a second. It says, did you know they had over 5 billion streaming hours last year? She says, 5
Yes.
billion streaming hours. Oh my gosh, that
Tubi is a a godsend to watch cheap to watch, you don't have to pay for it. It's one of those things where unless it's proprietary to a service for a watch party, I usually go to Tubi and see what's out there to watch it, because there's just so much stuff, especially older stuff.
And certainly, this is Tubi's kind of doing what we always knew this is going to be.
Hmm.
There's They Clone Tyrone. I just wanted to bring it up because you mentioned it, Lorena. I think it's incredibly important, as you said. It's like this revival film of blaxploitation, and certainly people have been talking about it. I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to see it. But Lorena, I'm glad you mentioned it. And this is exactly what people love to see. And it is very interesting. We're talking about all these different film genres that are coming out, and of course, ironically, we're getting what you were saying is like a black exploitation film. It is very interesting that they're feels like they're hitting all the marks in what we can watch right now. This is a very special time, I think, in entertainment, Lorena.
Yeah.
And I'm just pleased as punch that we are getting such a variety, so many different platforms to watch it on. If you want to watch those blaxploitation films, that Tubi Black Noir cinema focus, you can, and you don't have to pay for it because they have commercials. Anyone can watch it. It's accessible the way that we knew network TV used to be. So now I think we're going to see a lot of people who wouldn't normally be watching. Oh, that's on there. I've got to go ahead and check that out. I like that they decided to do this. Certainly it is a area that is very important. The only other way you could see a lot of them is if you rented them and you had a subscription service, or if you had Turner Classic Movies, which showed quite a few of them, but probably not as many as what Tubi is showing. And I also
Hmm.
love the notion of Antonio Vargas coming back. Huggy,
Oh yeah,
Huggy there.
definitely. I
Mhm.
mean, he is such an icon. His style is, iconic. When you think of that, think of Antonio Vargas, you think of, the blaxploitation films and the style that he had and the attitude that he had, and that's one of those things that I love about the blaxploitation genre.
Absolutely. I hope I'm going to be able to find him. I hope it's Fargus, isn't it? It's Fargus.
Yeah, with an F, I think.
Okay, I apologize, guys, because I'm really
I
just.
think I could be wrong, but I
Yep,
think
that's
that's
him. That's him.
okay.
Yep, I see him right there. And Foxy Brown, there he is. Look at him. Woo.
I love it. I love it. And especially if you see him in the film, I'm gonna get you sucker.
Oh, yes. That is my favorite let's say parody of a blaxploitation film. There he is. He starred in so many roles, but oh, look at this.
I
Oh
remember
my
this.
gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. Huggy Bear. And in I'm gonna get you sucker. Look at him. Look at him. Oh.
I know he's so handsome.
Yeah, look at it. And I'm gonna get you sucker. He comes out of, I guess the character he plays is in prison. When he comes out, he's wearing the same clothes from that era. And he's like, oh, they changed the style, Yes, that's right. Tom Jr. Jackson, Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch, Huggy Bear. Word on the street says, and all that good stuff. Certainly something to think about, a huge contribution to cinema and our culture. Look at that picture.
Love that. Oh my gosh, fro goals right there.
I mean, that certainly does sum up a lot of what we associate, just the raw talent that so many of these actors had, because they didn't have anything other than their raw talent to push these films through. The scripts were loosely based. A lot of times she was on she had to kind of rescue somebody, or, I guess Coffee was more like a revenge story. But the point is that she had to make all this work and pull it together. I mean, even her, like, she had nude scenes in there, and they were not sort of like staged or orchestrated in any special way. It was just all natural, and she held this stuff together. That was not easy to sort of put yourself on display. It was almost like, I would say like a French art film, because it had so many experimental sides to it, where they were just like, well, we're going to try this and see how this works. And, and see if the audience loves it. And they did. And so, I think that from that point of view, we can kind of look back at that genre with a smile on our face, Lorena, with a smile on our face.
Absolutely.
Well, Lorena, thank you for joining me tonight. Where can people find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, and of course, you can find me on YouTube for various live streams, videos, some by myself, some, of course, with on the channel, especially for watch parties. And 2 things to watch out for this week, probably actually 3 things. Of course, there's Toxic Male Appreciation, which is streaming on Twitch on Thursday, and will join me for that. We're going to be riding the Barbie train, because there's yet another topic that we're going to talk about that's going to be of interest. Also, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be streaming live from the sold out Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party at Walt Disney World. So you definitely want to check that out. And Saturday at 7 p.m., along with a bunch of my other friends, we're going to be on my channel celebrating reaching 5K. We're just going to chill, hang out, have fun. You don't know what's going to happen, just because, you know what happens when you get all your friends together. Stuff just goes the way the way that it goes. So thank you so much, as always, for having me here on the Burnettwork. I so appreciate it. And I forgot one thing, that I forgot to bring it up, and I'm sorry. Actually, at 6 p.m. on Thursday, I will be popping into the WDW Pro live show to hang out with my friends over there. So just some great pop culture commentary and just an overall fun show. So make sure you check that out, and also check out thatparkplace.com.
Absolutely. Lorena, thank you so much for being here. And I also want to ask everybody to also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Positive Fandom, where I do all the fun guys. Please do subscribe. I do my Sunday brunch show. I do watch parties as well. And of course, you can find me here on the Burnettwork. If you haven't subscribed to either one of them, please consider that after you subscribe to Lorena's channel. And the last subscription we're going to ask for is to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. Tom Jr. Jackson, the moderator, my collaborator, and friend. We are all good people. Tom Jr. Jackson, thank you for always being there. Such a gentleman, and really value your friendship. I want to thank thank everybody who showed up today. For ladies of the PGS, you guys are the best. You guys, we love you so much. What a great community this is. And guys, remember, no matter where you are out there, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.